There is no better salesman or entrepreneur than an addict in need of a fix. They will get it done. We try to take that energy, that tenacity, that focus, and redirect it.
So in today's show, we are discussing addiction, rehabilitation, and really getting to the heart of the people that are trying to get themselves out of that situation. And we're interviewing John Sabovich, the founder of Epiphany Foundation, and his program that he's put together and how he deals and addresses this. And so it's going to be a great show, and I hope you really enjoy it.
Welcome back to the Our 2 Cents podcast, the show where your local professionals sit down with an array of guests to hear their story and impart some wisdom for both business and life-improving skills. This is your place to hear business and community leaders discuss relevant topics that matter to you.
Good afternoon. This is Dave Plivelich with Our 2 Cents podcast, and today's co-host is Kyle Jones. And before we jump into today's episode, which features John Sabovich, the founder and CEO of the Epiphany Foundation, we want to encourage all of our listeners to follow us on YouTube now. So we've created a YouTube channel, and we've got a few episodes on there already. And we will be adding as we go and taking some of our past stuff that we've done and putting those onto YouTube as well. We are happy to have John joining us today. I've known him for quite some time. He's helped me out in many situations over the past 2 years. One in particular was my move of the Petroleum Club as president over to Sundale Country Club. And John stepped up and helped us get that whipped into shape to something that was meeting our level of expectations over there. So again, John, I'm always indebted to you on that one. He's also become a really, really good close friend, and I'm an advisor, I guess, to the Epiphany Foundation, and you're going to learn a lot about that today. So, John, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So people are going to be able to go to your website and learn more about you, but we're going to get a little bit more deeper than what that website goes, because I know a lot about you and what you've experienced with that. So Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we're going to get to what led up to the Epiphany Foundation.
I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Oh boy, I know that one.
No wonder you guys are friends.
That is a double-edged sword.
It is.
Epiphany is a sober living facility that I take homeless drug addicts, alcoholics that are really societal outcasts, and I took one of my rentals, converted it into a sober living facility. I give them a home to live in, that is to put a roof over their head, a nice home, give them truly a home environment. We have a cook. We give them all their food. They don't need any money. What they only have to truly come with is a passion, a burning desire to overcome their addiction, to get their life back. Our entire program is set up to be one step away from real life. So we have and it's centered around that of what most people do every day, except that the addicts have been living in a unstructured lifestyle for many, many years. They've had all these bad habits develop and deeply embedded of not living by rules. So part of this is that we go and we have rules, they have accountability, and then something that they are not accustomed to is consequences when they break the rules. So we have a variety of ways of being able to deal with this, and this all stems around the fact that their passion to overcome their addiction, to get their life back. That can come about in many forms. It might be that the typical addict has burned just about every bridge that they have, plus some. And it might be that they want to see their mother once again. Could be that their family. It might be that it can be anything that is of value to them. It's not you or I to decide what's important to them, but it's what they do, and that becomes their passion. And then we'll home in on that, and we use that as a tool, shall we say, to motivate them to go through the various programs.
So I've been fortunate enough to meet some of your guys that have been through the program. I don't know if they're all still there when I met them. I know you do get turnover.
Complete new crop.
That's good. That means, they've kind of done things and moved on.
We're a business where the normal business goes and they're trying to retain their people on it. We're exactly the opposite. It's designed that they leave. We're successful when they leave and are able to go out and function within society in a normal fashion.
I've never been there. I've never seen it. So there's probably some basic questions, but you may know the answer, Dave. But so how many rooms are we talking about in this home?
It's a 5-bedroom home.
Okay.
Plus a large office that's about to get converted to additional living space.
So safe to say only 5 at a time is?
No. We're actually 11.
Okay.
Right now we're full at the right now. 11.
Okay, so they share rooms.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming no women, right?
No women.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. And I'm assuming it has to be, we're not minor children, right? Over the age of 18?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The youngest we have at the moment is 28.
Okay.
Age range is 28 to 45 at this moment.
Okay.
The youngest we've ever had is 23. We did have a 18-year-old apply. That would have been okay, but he couldn't. Heroin was the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I've met those guys, or one batch of the guys that were there, and I got to kind of go experience that and kind of share my story with them. And, you touched on a little bit, they do police themselves, and that's the great part about his organization is, he doesn't have the background that they're actually experiencing. These guys are there for their sobriety and they police themselves. So if there's a bad seed, there's somebody that's not trying, they want them out, because they protect each other. All walks of life, though. I mean, there's dudes the one guy that I met, he had been a multimillionaire or something and lost everything and was going to, you knew he was going to survive that. But a lot of these guys don't. But as we well know, this touches so many lives. I mean, there's no line set. I mean, it's any demographic, any income level. You got politicians, business leaders that experience this. We all know somebody that has been touched in our lives that have dealt with this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. When I do public speaking, one of the very first questions I'll ask is, please raise your hand if you have not been seriously impacted by somebody close to you by drugs or alcohol. And I'm talking about mother, father, child, business partner, close personal friend, somebody really close to you. And invariably, almost nobody can raise their hand like, no, I don't know anybody. No, Doesn't happen. The addiction is the true pandemic. Now that the media is off of COVID, you see all the talk now coming back to addiction and opioids and so on.
And then the homelessness that accompanies that typically. That's a big issue in California.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, in fact, with KTLA, what we're doing is why KTLA was so interested in our program.
We're going to talk about that here in a second, too. Yeah. But I want to touch on real quick, what's your background? I mean, what led to your epiphany to start this program?
I've always been in real estate in one way or another. Sometimes in a big way, and other times it went kind of in the background, but I've always been in real estate throughout my entire career. Going and working in real estate paid for my education, at Cal State Bakersfield. Then it was Cal State Bakersfield, now it's CSUB, but anyway. So I've always been in real estate. I've always loved real estate. I know a lot about real estate. One of those things that just really works well. I knew nothing about the drug world other than the fact that it did. And through college, I would see friends in the ski club and so on that I knew were really good people, and they would do really, really stupid, dumb, ignorant, highly regretful things. And the only thing that changed was that they had either drank too much or it was drugs.
Yeah.
That was it. And I saw it destroy lives, careers, everything like this. And I was too much of a control freak. I see that, and it scared the dickens out of me. And so I had never been part of that life. I personally have no addiction, and that's both good and bad. The good part is that I don't have an addiction, and I don't have that life. The bad part is I have not walked in their shoes. Yeah. So consequently, when it comes to the facility, I truly rely on our residents our beneficiaries. They're benefiting from our program. That's what we refer to them. So the people that have been in for a while, I truly rely on them of what is it they're feeling, what are they doing, what is this guy saying, and things like this. Now, I've been doing this for 5 years, and so I've heard every story there is, but I still rely on them a lot. The other part of your question is that drugs and alcohol are such a deep part of our society, but it really goes back to initially my daughter. And she had always sort of marched to the beat of a different drummer. She got involved with drugs, just a cocktail of just whatever, and the rave parties and so on. I knew that she was having more and more problems, without really going into details, but I had this vision, and I just saw this drain, and how water goes down a drain and it turns and going down, and I just saw her in it, and I had this vision of that. And so I was driving down to, and I knew that she was having some problems. I was driving down to a property having in San Pedro, and ironically, and God works in amazing ways, she would never call me, and I get a call this one Friday night, and I just happened to be driving down there, and she said, "Dad, will you come and pick me up? Like, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I've been kicked out of a sober living home." And I said, "Where?" It happened to be within 10 blocks of where I was going. Like, huh? Yeah, it's like, this is amazing. So I pick her up, and so anyway, and we have the weekend, and the weekend started off good and went really, really south, all due to drugs. So that created a very unique set of circumstance that, although she was an adult child, she was an adult at that time, she was, I think, around 28 or so, right about there.
Still your baby, so
yeah, still your child,
right.
Still your child. It never ceases being a child.
Right.
And I still had this vision of like, and with this, it just kind of made that thing of her life going down, seeing her going down the drain. And I was just scared to death of getting the call, the knock on the door at the night from the cop or the morgue calling, "Please come and identify," because I knew it was going to happen. It was not a matter if, but when. So this unique circumstance, for once in a very, very long time, I had an opportunity. The course of the weekend, she committed a very minor crime, and it gave me the opportunity then to go and take more of a criminal legal approach to trying to get to intervene. And I had basically one shot, but it was really rather amazing. So I knew nothing to do. I knew nothing about the drug world, nothing. And my very good longtime friends in Los Angeles, they had gone through this with their daughter that was basically my daughter's age. And I called them and asked them what to do. And they said, well, tough love. And I said, okay, well, now what do I do? And they said, well, here, why don't you talk to our daughter? And she said, and the first thing, and I can hear her voice even sitting here, this is, many years later, she says, if her mouth is moving, it's a lie. And so I took that to heart, and I started just asking questions, and things happened that should have never happened. The cops wouldn't help at all, but I insisted upon a police report, and then I got referred over into probation. And probation, it's really kind of amazing. They went, and the woman there I presume is a black woman only by voice. And I told her the story of much what I'm saying to you right now. And she said, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this and everything. But she said, there's a case number over in the Long Beach courts, and gave me a case number. And she said, you're right. I thank you very much. We never had this call. Ended over there, and I ended up going through over in Long Beach, 4 deputy DAs, and finally got I would guess about a 45-year-old woman. And she must have had a situation, something like what I described, because nobody else would help. And she said, this is a petty thing. We're not going to do anything on it, but would you like to talk to the court? She has a probation hearing coming up, and would you be interested in addressing the court? And I said, yes, of course, because there was a suspended sentence. So she went to the judge, and anyway, and at the appointed time, I looked at the calendar and I said, God, I'm going to be here for days. And because there were like 50 attorneys and everything. And called second one, made everybody wait, and the judge, and he was just, he's running the court like as an SS officer. He came to this and his demeanor completely changed. She had given background of kind of what it was about, and he took on the demeanor of that of a father, grandfather. Sorry, children.
That's all right. It's all right, bud.
And he said, just tell your story, take all the time you need. About halfway through, I started telling a story that there's no way that he could ever know the things that were going on, that had been going on in him to make a ruling, because unlike the normal parent, I thoroughly believed that she was going to end up dead. So I was willing to do anything, and I knew that what I wanted was that something needed to intervene. She had demonstrated repeatedly that she could not go and live by the rules of that of a sober living facility. She had been washed out. She got kicked out of, when I picked her up, she had been kicked out of 3 other ones.
Oh, wow.
Even though they were court ordered. So she didn't care. They didn't care that her lover girlfriend, that there was a restraining order for them to stay away from each other. And I told the judge, I said, she's out in the hallway right now. They don't care. They don't care about what you say. The judge didn't appreciate that at all. My objective is that I wanted her to be in custody and listen, I don't want her in custody.
No.
What I wanted her in was a mandatory rehab program. That's what I wanted. Now, if that required her to be in custody, so be it. And furthermore, I didn't really care whether she ever spoke to me again or not. If she was able to get this past this point and could get on with her life and have a normal life, that was worth it to me. Anyway, that's what I did. About halfway through, my daughter figured out that what I was really doing, I wasn't trying to get her out, but I was trying to put her in. And she yelled out, "Dad, what are you doing?" And the judge, it became the SS officer like instantly, like the rabid dog, And he says, "Young lady, one more outburst like that, and I'm taking you into custody." It's exactly that kind of attitude of why you're having the problems you are. Yeah. He turns back to me. His demeanor changes again. "Please continue, Mr. Sabovich." And this went on for like 20 minutes in a very busy court. That's a lot of time. Right. A lot of time. Yeah. And I turned, and literally the courtroom, when I turned to go sit down, the courtroom erupted in applause. And I distinctly remember at the very last chair in the last row, there was this large black lady, and she was in tears. And she said, "I've never heard anything. I've been in court a number of times with my kids, everything. I've never heard anything like this." And she said, "You've given me inspiration of what to do with my own children." I said, "Thank you." And
how's your daughter doing though?
She's doing good. She's doing good. She's in Pasadena. She's kind of got her life back together, and it's without drugs.
Good.
And are you guys speaking?
No.
But she moved on beyond that point in her life, which was the objective.
I'm hopeful that someday she'll finally figure it out. What really happened. I'm optimistic, but there's no question. I've run through the entire scenario hundreds of times in my mind, and because you're going through this, you don't know what to do. Yeah. You don't know if you're making the right decision, everything like this. Is this self-serving in some manner? I don't know. Any one of a multitude of possibilities. And I just keep going back to it, is that the drugs are going to win. It's not a matter if, but only when. And the question is are you going to be amongst those? I have one of our guys has lost 4 of his family members, personal family members, to drugs. In one family. I mean, that's what an epidemic the drugs are. I mean, you talk about devastating a family.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but had you had the opportunity to do things over again, you do them exactly the same?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm completely, although difficult, I'm completely comfortable with the decision, the actions took. And today, years later, I'm glad that I did. I believe that I have a relationship with God, through God to her on it. I know it was the right thing to do. When your children become adults, you end up in this weird spot that, do you want to be a friend? They're still your child, but the relationship changes. So many times a parent wants their kids to like them, to be a friend, but they're still your child. And especially when they're troubled, everything like this, many times you cannot do anything. I had, as I said, a very unique opportunity. Or everything happens for a reason, to restate it.
Your background was originally real estate, but you become phenomenal construction guy and remodeling guy, and that's a lot what you have your guys done. I'm going to watch you. You're a great trainer. You teach. You've got the patience to take the time to teach these guys skills that they can use when they get out of this program. First off, what led to that, and then we're going to get real close to what went on in LA.
I have always simply enjoyed helping people.
Yeah.
For as long as I can ever remember. I grew up, my family, they're farmers out in the Arvin, Lamont area. I grew up on the farm as, the boss's oldest son. Mm-hmm. And so I ran around. I was in my early teens telling adults what to do. And so that was kind of my, a little background. So you have just kind of this idea of managing people and getting them to do things. People would break, everybody's so concerned about people getting stranded on the road and so on. I'm still the guy that stops today and will help somebody along the road. For example, I would have fun. I ride my bike a lot. I used to carry a rope with me that as a Harley is broke down on the road, I would go and kind of almost add insult to injury there, saying, and I'm on my Honda. Yeah. I said, "Do you need a pull?"
That's awesome. So part of the program, what you guys do is you remodel other people's houses for income, because you're completely self-funded. I mean, you're not, at this point, you're not getting any government grants and
no tax dollars, no public dollars.
I know your website, you allow people to come and make donations, yes, or even hire you guys to come and do stuff. So
yes, there's basically I'm going to call the sober living world, you're really talking about what is the business model. You have essentially two business models. One that is supported with third-party payers, and that's probably 99% of all of them out there. That would include insurance, family, and primarily, though, state, county, city dollars. So what basically happens is under some program, they're going into, many times they're on probation or parole, and the state is paying for renting a bed in a facility that has a program. It can range anywhere from the ones in Malibu to there's numerous ones for here locally in Bakersfield. They basically, if you ask the beneficiaries, that is the people who have been, because all of our people have been in, let's just say multiple programs. They've been in other facilities. And so they know what's going on. And you ask them, well, how do they care about your addiction? How do they care about you? And universally, I mean, it's like we're talking like 100%. They care a whole lot about you until the rent is not paid, until they run out of funding. So they fund, like under all the county programs, is basically fund for 90 days. But we don't have anybody there who is not an admitted addict for 10 years. Well, to be admitted addict for 10 years, they were using another 3 to 5 years prior to getting the point where they get to their start point. Well, if you did something that was, even though there's a lot of heartache and pain and so on that goes along with using drugs, there was a lot of fun in it too. I mean, that they talk about of, whatever it was for them. It's an entire lifestyle. And there, you have your people, you have your friends, you have the language, you have everything about it. And these all are the habits. These are very, very deeply embedded that have been repeated literally thousands of times. You are not going to change that behavior in 90 days. An insurance program of 23 days is just like a joke.
Yeah.
The truth of it is all the research is that you want to have a really, really good shot at overcoming your addiction. It's really 2 years. The most successful program in the world is Delancey Street, based out of San Francisco. And they will not accept anybody unless you sign up for 2 years. Ours, we do not have an expiration date on ours. So you have one that you rent a bed, and the second one is, and that's all basically supported by public dollars. And the other one is like Delancey and ourselves, which is that we go and we're a business that we generate our own money. With public dollars, our program cannot exist. And so we go and we just act as a like a contractor, to go and you want to remodel a bathroom or to fix the roof or do whatever it is you would do. Instead of calling ABC Construction, you call us, and we use that job as a classroom to teach them how to go and learn a trade. And then we have no expectations, and they don't have any expectations of somebody becoming, let's say, a journeyman electrician or framer or something like that. But they definitely learn enough to be able to become the helper. And we have many people, contractors come around, and they hire our people to be exactly that.
Do they have to have a certain amount of time sober before you allow them to go on job sites? Are they tested, or how is that regulated?
They have to test clean coming in. We have I'll just kind of run through the program. We'll get an inquiry coming from a variety of sources, ranging from they see a little flyer out in the streets, referrals, family is fed up with it, everything from Bakersfield Behavioral Health Hospital, probation, so we're going to conduct an interview. Our interview generally includes myself plus 2 of our more senior residents. They might pull the wool over my eyes, but they have a real problem pulling the wool over another addict's eyes, especially 2 of them, because they know every trick there is. Yeah. So do that. And what we're really looking for is, are they a fit? We have a culture of sobriety. So the people that we have in are committed to sobriety, and they don't want that bad apple in there. They do not want it in there because that jeopardizes their success. So that's why we include them in there. I don't live at the house, but they do, and so I've always felt as though they should have a say in who comes in. To me, it always made sense.
Sure.
And they must test clean at that time. Now, frequently they have used within the last very recently, maybe yesterday, a day before, something like that. Weed is going to stay in the system for 30 days. But, we understand that. And that's the one that will, but they can't be high. We have a zero tolerance policy on that, and we have a variety of ways of dealing with that too. We're very understanding of the fact that these are addicts, and they've been in this other lifestyle. There is no better salesman or entrepreneur than an addict in need of a fix. Oh. They will get it done. We try to take that energy, that tenacity, that focus, and redirect it into constructive things. Yeah. They come in and they basically immediately start work. We're assigning them to, and we're just finding out what it is they can do. Some guys come. We have a journeyman drywaller right now, and he stepped in at he's 28 or 29, stepped in, and he almost immediately became the teacher. So we try to move them into a teacher. I will always try. Everybody is a teacher. Everybody has something to give. The 12th step of the AANA is that to be in service. There's no better way to be in service than to teach. Then when you're teaching, then you really know. That's how you really learn.
It gives them purpose. I mean, exactly. a lot of people in the drug world, in the addiction world, at some point, a lot of them, love that social aspect, and they've got family and they've got their friends, and it's very tough to leave those friends, especially when you want to get clean, because they'll try to drag you back into their pool real quick. But you coming out of it, you're finding there is purpose. I can make a difference, and it isn't what these lies that I've been told.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Sadly, most of the friends and all the places that you used to hang out have to go because the temptation is just too great. And as you correctly said, the old friends, they are the old lifestyle, and they drag you back into it once again. The exception will be those relatively few that have a good family, and they're just fed up with you and what the carnage that you're causing to the family. And so they're saying you can't be here anymore, with the caveat that if you fix yourself, you're welcome back. And this is where I keep telling the guys, fix yourself. You think your world is terrible and life is upside down. But if you fix yourself first, you'll find that all of these things start working themselves out.
Yeah. So I've got a story that I want to share that leads into this next part, how planets and everything else lined up. So I had a guy called me and say, hey, I know this video producer, and she's down in LA, and she's from Bakersfield, and she kind of was thinking about coming back to Bakersfield, and, if you have a position for her or job or know of any work, and I'm like, yeah, I currently don't have an open position like that. But from time to time I do outsource to, different video people or photographers or whatnot. And I keep her in mind. So I called her, I talked to her for a little bit, and she kind of told me her story, and that was it, and hung up. Good. And not even 5 minutes later, this guy calls me and said, hey, I'm working on this remodel project down in LA, Orange County, right?
Orange
County, and it's phenomenal. We're doing some really cool stuff, and I need somebody that can be down here and kind of document what we're doing. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I've got a phone number, and connected to she worked for KTLA. The next thing you know, they talk. She could relate, and next thing you know, what happened, John?
First of all, I'm indebted to you, Dave. That the KTLA would not have happened had it not been for that referral from you. You said this, everything happens for a reason. Yeah. So in this case, we not only did she was a referral, but she was with it was an oil family that the father had worked in the oil business, and they lived really literally all over the country, including that of Bakersfield. And unlike all these people in LA, she loves Bakersfield and wants to get out of West Hollywood and move back to Bakersfield because she has some family here.
I think she's cool with us saying her name. Her name is Sherry Odell, and she's a phenomenal person.
She is just
she's
a ball of fire, and really, really, really good at what she does. Really good. Then, in addition, she was in recovery herself.
At one point in her life,
and she's been past that point for a long time, but she got it. She understood. In addition, you talk about the planets aligning. So KTLA, and she's one of the top producers at KTLA. It took some work to be able to finally get her to come on down, because they have this idea that KTLA is LA and they cover stories in Los Angeles, and we're in Orange County. That's not Los Angeles. It's SoCal, yes, but not LA, out of their territory. So I talked her into coming down and offered her free food and blah, 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 everything. And she came down, and she just her mouth dropped open. So when we had breakfast afterwards, she said, well, KTLA, they consider the homeless story their franchise, that KTLA owns it. They had covered it so much, so in such depth. And she said, my God, what you have here is what we see as the way out for the homeless. It's the next step. And I said, what I have is when I look at what's on HDTV there, I said, they got nothing compared to what we have every day. We have a threefer. I got home remodeling. I have all the drama associated with the addicts on an hourly basis, not a daily basis, an hourly basis. Yeah. And then you have unskilled labor addicts, alcoholics, going and doing remodeling in a very white neighborhood, and how they function within that, and doing the work, and people coming in and say, wow, this is really good work. This is work that you can put in anybody's home, and they'd be very proud of it. And that's a reality TV show, and so there's a bargain for them. So anyway, that was kind of the basis of it, and
so they sent out one.
Was it an expose? Was it kind of an expose they did, or was it
yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, they sent out one of their reporters. I'm spacing his name right now, but
Glenn, I forget Glenn's last name, but he's been one of their news anchors. He's their afternoon news anchor. Heck of a nice guy. So they sent out this the crew, and I already had a lot of content of construction in progress and doing things. And
it's amazing what a phone can do with video. So he's recording bits and pieces of just, and I'll repeat the website later, but epiphanyfoundation.net, the KTLA episode is on there, so you can actually interview with some of the guys, but see some of the work that they do with LED lighting. I mean, they've tricked out this house. I mean, they increased the value of it tenfold. But one of the things you also consider, because when people see this, like, I want them to come remodel my house, because they can do amazing stuff. But you have to also realize it's at their pace. They're there for rehabilitation. So don't expect this is going to be projects going to be done in 3 months or 10 days or whatnot, because they're going to take these breaks and they're there for them.
We were having a house meeting earlier this week, and I just reminded everybody then, I said, we have to remind them, what is our mission? Our mission is really about their rehabilitation first, and the construction second. Now we must do both. We have to do the other. That's how I pay for this whole thing.
Sure.
So what typically happens in the normal, really any employment scenario, the employer is expecting the employee to do the job, and whatever personal issues they have,
leave it outside.
you leave it outside at the curb on it, and you do the job, and then you deal with your personal issues, including addiction. Then, okay. Ours is exactly the opposite. Okay, is that the addiction is first and the work is second. So they have permission, not only permission, but encouraged that they say, Dave, and because this is one addict, and I'm going to backtrack just a second. I tell my guys, I said, every one of you are counselors. You're therapists, every one of you. You may not have the education, the formal education. You don't have the credentials on it, but you have what none of the therapists have. You have the street smarts of knowing exactly what they're feeling right now. You're the most qualified person there is. Now, the question is, are you going to step up and say, Dave, your eyes look really odd right now? I said, or I see you looking over here. Do you have some drugs over there? So what's going on? What's going on with you? And so you're in the middle of a job, and it's okay for them and encouraged that they go over and they sit, and many times it's only need 5-10 minutes. They sit and talk, and they're talking addict to addict, and they understand what's going on, and they talk it through, and then it's okay, and they get past that point. They talk about in AA 1 day at a time. Many times it's 1 minute at a time.
Sure.
Or minute to minute.
Yeah, get past that one moment.
Yeah, or hour to hour. Then we go back to work. So it does take us longer to do something like that. And then the second part is we've, you mentioned that we've had contractors, journeymen, and so on, but by the same token, most of our guys have no work skill. We had a guy, a young Hispanic guy, he literally did not even know how to boil water. I said, how is that even possible? And he's 27. I said, well, my girlfriend always did it. And I just shake my head. But we had him working on a construction crew, and he learned how to do things.
So there's this, I think it's Schellenberger. Have you heard Michael Schellenberger? He's running for governor.
Yeah.
2022? Would it be 2022? Mm-hmm. Is it November?
Yeah. Is something like that. Yeah.
Is that when Gavin Newsom's term is up? I think it is.
Yeah.
And he's making homelessness and addiction like the platform of his campaign, and how it's handled. And he did a really good job on Rogan's podcast. I don't know if you caught that one or not, but he wrote a book called San Francisco. And he's basically saying, like, the way that we're handling drugs and alcohol addiction and homelessness is just ass backwards, right?
Exactly.
Throwing too much money at it, and it's not working. So I don't know how, or if someone, whoever's listening, has any connection. I think you guys talking to each other would be something magical.
Kyle, I've sat down with every one of our supervisors in private, and they don't like what I have to say for the most part. First of all, I host in December, I host a thank you lunch in Lamont for our first responders, law enforcement. That's not a fundraiser. It's just a Ruth Chris steak lunch on it. And we've done that didn't do it last year just with COVID and everything, but we'll be doing it again this coming December. And we have basically around in the neighborhood, around 150 cops show up for a great lunch. And this, all it is just a thank you. There's nothing attached to it. It's just the business community pitching in just a little bit of money here and there, and we just do it all ourselves. If I was a cop and I had to go deal with the homeless, I would be severely demoralized. Think about it. You have people that are going and they're camping out on public grounds. They're doing and everything. We all see it every place around. Cops go try to do their job, and they give them and all they can do is they give them a citation. It's okay for the people just simply to take that ticket and tear it up in their face and throw it on the ground, because Sacramento has made their job that meaningless. What I can tell you is that until there's some consequences to the actions, nothing is going to happen.
I'm telling you, why you should try to talked to this hopefully potential governor of California because he's saying similar things. And he said, I mean, you have to have a carrot, but you also have to have a stick.
Yeah.
It was one of the things he said on the podcast. And he refers to how things are done in other parts of Europe and whatnot. And it's not like it's here where it's just, give them drugs and like basically placate it and just kind of push them to the side. It's the point. What they're doing there is to actually help and to assist and to get them off the drugs. And it seems like we've kind of lost our way with that.
Oh, there's no question about it. One of my guys currently in the program was in a rehab program in Mexico. You should hear him talk about what they do in Mexico. It makes ours look like kids play.
Disneyland, probably.
Oh, my God. It's just, it's amazing.
So what are kind of the next steps for you in the guys? I mean, I know, how far along are you with the current home that you are all in?
Or are you referring to Orange County?
The local place that you have here for where your guys are staying, the rehab place. What are your next steps? What are your plans? Our
house it's a great house. We're going to be expanding it. We're out of space. We have another house. I'd actually probably like to get another property that I'm going to call transitional housing, where people have come into our program. They've been able to get structure in their life, and now they're ready to go out, and they're at the point they can go get and hold a job.
Okay.
But they still need the structure.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And so the transitional housing would be that, having the structure, but they're able to go out and have a job, working for a third-party employer. We're not, our people are beneficiaries. They're not employees.
Let's, we're going to start wrapping this up here. So first off, how do people find you? How do people get a hold of you and learn more about your program and contact you if they're interested in your services to hire you guys, or somebody is in dire need of turning their life around?
Well, the best place is our website, epiphanyfoundation.net, not .com or org, but .net. And then there's this other amazing instrument called the telephone. And you can call us at 866-240-1100.
Very good.
866-240-1100. You know, we're on Wilson Road, just right about 3 blocks west of the new Amazon facility. So it's really very centrally located in the southwest. We're a good neighbor. Our guys are really very respectful. We went in Orange County. It was I'm going to call it a very white neighborhood. They're a very quiet, upscale, reasonably influential. The prices there are just amazing for what you get. But anyway, here we are. We've got guys have done hard time, in the state prisons and everything, and a bunch of guys living. We lived on the job site during the week, but one time we had a complaint from the neighbor just simply because one of the guys was just talking real loud. Yeah. And he was just that way, and we dealt with that. And other than that, over 8 months of working down there, it all worked great. And actually people came around and just couldn't believe the work we did and compliments on the way we took care of the property, conducted ourselves. So I'm really very, very proud of my guys and what they've done, and those that come in, they get mentored by the others. And
all right, well, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up here. And one of the things that we do at the Our 2 Cents podcast is the rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. What is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from the experience?
My biggest failure was probably in the past in real estate of not paying sufficient attention to detail. And that really came back to bite really hard.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that one over dinner one of these times. But
yeah,
if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I think we've been able to really impact people's lives in a very positive way.
So you're kind of already doing the one thing you want to be remembered for.
This is really, that one thing is really kind of ongoing because there's a huge amount of hard candy. I've done quite a number of business ventures over the course of my career, but I must say that this is really the most rewarding of all.
As a friend, I know that and see that in you.
I really enjoyed it. It isn't without its heartache, believe me.
No, I understand. Yeah. Well, there's another question. I'm not going to ask that one, but because I want to know this one. This is kind of one of my guilty pleasure. What's something that somebody would not expect about John Sabovich, whether it's music or anything?
I'm pretty easygoing, so I think that they would really kind of be sort of surprised at how focused and how passionate I can actually am on a number of things. Sometimes I surprise myself.
Yeah.
It can become very singular as such.
But I really enjoyed this, and when I became part of this podcast group, and I had to come up with a list of possible to the interview, you were at the top.
Thank you very much.
So I'm glad you're able to accommodate and be with us. So again, Epiphany.net is the best place to go find John.
Epiphany Foundation.
I'm sorry, Epiphany Foundation. I did that in the last interview. EpiphanyFoundation.net. I encourage you to go there, learn more about John, see his story, share it with others that could be impacted by what he's got going on over there. Check out that KTLA interview. You'll get to see the amazing things they did with this house, and you get to hear the stories out of the guys' mouths themselves, talking about their stories and what they've been struggling with and what the program's been like for them.
Just a kind of a closing thought, one of the things that really becomes very meaningful is because the addict has almost universally of all of them, the family is just devastated.
Yeah.
We have been very, very successful at being able to bring the families back together.
Get them reunited.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's really, really great. They'll see on the KTLA mic that he was trying to get together was his mother would not answer his phone. And it was about 2 weeks ago. We took him over and he's got together with his mother.
He's reconnected.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. They were all in tears.
Yeah. How can you not be? How can you not be? Well, again, John, I really appreciate you coming today, and I love sharing your story, and I hope there's people listening that this will impact. I'm sure it will.
I thank you so very much, and I would encourage if anybody has any questions, never hesitate to call.
Yeah. And again, if this gets funded by itself, so, obviously they get income from doing these projects, but if you don't have a project, please, as a listener, go to John's website and contribute something. It helps them do what they do, and really they're making a difference that I think a lot of other programs out there simply are not making the kind of impact that you are, and this is good stuff. So again, thanks, John. I really appreciate it, bud.
Thank you so much, Dave. I so appreciate it.
The show has been brought to you by the Law Office of Kyle Jones, Troy Burton with the Lynn Company, CPA John Duffield, Scott Hansen Real Estate Lender, broker and investor, and Dave Plivelich, President and CEO of the Marcom Group and MarcomBranding.com. You've been listening to the Our 2 Cents podcast. Check out the show notes for links and more information about the show. Also visit our website at our2centspodcast.com or catch us on Instagram at Our 2 Cents Podcasts. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share with others.